Oh, hello. Do you think that Big Brother is planning to take over the world? Or that the Illuminati is here? Have you had an encounter with a space alien today? Well, if the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat. This is tinfoil hat time. Welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. I hope you guys are ready to talk about the future, because we all need to think about our futures. We need to think about all those things we're going to do, or the jobs that the robots are going to take. All of the things, no, we don't need to plan for our opportunity. Those decisions are going to be made for us. Aren't those exciting thoughts? Indeed, they are. Because we are going to talk today about the smart city of the future. Yes, we are. Well, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody. Greetings, Ryan. Hello, Maverick. Hello, Brian, the computer geek. I am doing pretty good. Hello, Noah. All right. Well, you guys all have your hats on today because this is going to be exciting. It's been about 2 weeks since we did a tinfoil hat time, isn't it? Yes, it is indeed. Carbon Programmer, greetings. Spa, Zyphoid Process, evening all. Okay. Now, how's this 5 o'clock time work for everybody? Is this all right? Hopefully this is going to work good. And I'm actually going to have to try something here. I got to... how can I get this to work? OBS now actually has the ability to monitor your lines, and I am actually going to be playing a clip today, and hopefully it's not a clip that I get, you know, of course I probably would get a copyright strike for it, so but I'm actually going to do that so I can monitor my audio lines. So you guys on the live stream are going to get a treat. I'm going to play an audio clip later on just to show how future thinking some things out there are. But it's like an hour, or like not an hour. It's like a minute and a half clip, and so I don't want to have that in my final edit. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But what we're going to do here is we are going to chat about the smart city of the future. And I didn't know this was such a thing here, but apparently it is. I'm going to get my tea ready here. All right, we are serving up a Chinese jasmine tea today, so pretty good. All right, so, a few more folks have jumped on. KO2610, how's it going there? The smart city of the future is a nightmare. Yes, it is. All right. I don't have my hat on, sadly. Currently at CCU for my grandma. Okay, I hope that everything's all right over there. 3 Keister P, hello. This is perfect. Kids are in bed, sitting on the couch with apple pie and tea. Sweet. I need some apple pie. That sounds good. Midnight is better than 4 a.m. Yep. Indeed. I gotta try and plan my shows for the variety of different audiences that we get. So, and that's cool. We got an internationalism. So. Greetings, LJ. Chicago, right? Awesome. And Arachnovision, how's it going there? Spider Eyes. So this is actually an article that came out last year about this time, actually, and I didn't see it until, like, this last week. In fact, I think I saw it last week, but then I had a series of things I wanted to do, and so I was like, that would be a perfect tinfoil hat time. And I linked a video from TrueStream Media. Now, those guys are about probably the only conspiracy theorist guys I might watch on a regular basis, because in reality, despite I got some aliens behind me, I got a tinfoil hat on, I'm actually not a conspiracy theorist. What the point of tinfoil hat time is to show how close some of these things are really getting to conspiracy, and that's kind of the point that I want to talk about here today. So we're going to be talking about this smart city, and primarily we're going to be talking about an article that was written by these socialist Ida Aachen, who is a member of the Parliament of Denmark, and this article is very disturbing, I just have to say. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here today. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my record button, and I'm going to do a little intro again, because, like I said, I need to record this and recut it for those that are not catching it live, because I'm going to be playing an audio clip, and I don't want a copyright strike for playing an audio clip, although I'll probably get one anyway. I'll probably close the channel down by the time I'm done here. I don't know, the way YouTube's been going. Of course, I could do something perfectly benign, and they'd probably close my channel down anyway, so oh well. So, welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. We are going to be talking today about the smart city of the future. This is an article that came out last year, and I just saw it this last week, and it's disturbing. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into this. We're going to analyze this one article all sorts of different directions, and this is the smart city of 2030. And I find it very interesting that a lot of big companies are behind this kind of stuff. Isn't that kind of interesting? That's telling. That's very telling. So let's go ahead and have a look at this article. So our article is titled, and I believe that the original location, I saw this same text posted many places. I believe this is the original one. This is from the World Economic Forum. So this is a consortium of people that want to discuss these world and these social issues. So the title of the article is Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, I have no privacy, and life has never been better. Ooh, doesn't that title just give you a thrill? So I have pulled out some talking points. I've actually been working on the idea for this for a little while, so I wrote out some actual notes today. And so we're going to be talking here today about the concepts of, suppose we don't own anything. What's the good part about that? And then suppose we don't own anything. What's the not so good part about that? What will we do? And I don't even have an answer for that. Let's talk about automation a little bit. And then we are going to talk about the required living. And since I get the question so many times, I think I have a final answer for the fundamental question, what are my opinions on universal basic income? Because it ended up showing up as part of this discussion. So we're going to go ahead and first let's go ahead and read through parts of the article, and then we'll go ahead and address each of those topics as we go down a line. All right, so now, there is actually an hour-long video. You can come over here. I'll go ahead and link this thing into the description when I get a chance. But there's an hour-long discussion of a video here, and I have to watch this a couple more times, I think. But basically, this was a conversation from the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. You know, a bunch of people that are talking about all these different things. And so what we're going to do here today as we look at this is first dig through this. So, all right, let's go ahead and I flipped over, did my introduction. I never recorded any of that. Let me start recording again. There we are. Sometimes I forget to start recording. Sorry, folks, on the live stream, I'm going to have to go ahead and do part of that intro again. I apologize for that. So we're going to be talking about the smart city of the future, and this is from an article that I encountered I encountered it just this week, but it was written about a year ago. And we're going to go ahead and dive into this. And I believe this is the original place from the World Economic Forum. And it's Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, I have no privacy, and life has never been better. Whew, that title freaks me out. So we're going to be talking about a few different talking points. What are the good parts about owning nothing? What are the bad points about owning nothing? I have no good points about having no privacy. We're going to talk about what we do, automation, the required living in such a society, and then we're going to talk about my final stance on universal basic income, because a lot of people have asked me for that in the past. So we're going to go ahead and discuss that in detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by reading some of this article, shall we? All right, so there is also an hour-long video. You can watch the discussion from their 2017 annual meeting. But welcome to the year 2030. Close your eyes and welcome to the year 2030, where space aliens will see us in the streets. So wait, hold on, never mind. Wrong conspiracy. Welcome to my city, or should I say our city. See, this is all ours, people. This is ours, our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. let's stop and ponder that last one for just a moment here. I don't own any clothes. Do we share them? Do I know the psycho who has worn my underwear last? Or we just have this bundle of clothes distributed to us, the underwear of our given size. We wear them for a day or 3 or 4, depending on how nasty you are. You take them off and you throw them into this nebulous little hamper at the house you don't even own. You just happen to be staying there that night. And then you just meander on away because there's a cupboard where a robot has come by and put the perfect size underwear for you, and you just grab one and put them back on, and when you're done, wherever you have to be, you take your underwear off and throw them in, and all the underwear is just recycled in society. Have I just made this terrifying? I mean, come on. We don't own any clothes. What do we need clothes for? We don't need appliances. We don't need any of this stuff. We got a smart house, a smart society, a smart city with a smart car, with a smart everything. The place is so smart we can become imbeciles and idiots as we roam through the cities in 2030. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. Windows 10. Excuse me. Yeah. Everything considered a product has now become a service. We have access to transportation, accommodation, food, all of the things we need in our daily lives. One by one, all these things became free. So it ended up not making sense for us to own much. First, communication became digitalized and free to everyone, and then clean energy became free. Things started to move quickly. Transportation dropped dramatically in price. It made no sense for us to own cars anymore because we could just call a driverless vehicle owned by that kitty clubbing Uber at any point in time. Or a flying car for longer journeys within minutes. We started transporting ourselves in a much more organized and coordinated way when public transport became easier and quicker and more convenient than a car. Now I can hardly believe we accepted congestion and traffic jams, not to mention the air pollution from combustion engines. What were we thinking? Sometimes I use my bike when I go to see some of my friends. I enjoy the exercise and the ride. It kind of gets the soul to come along for the journey. Funny how things seem never to lose their excitement. Walking and biking and cooking and drawing and growing plants. It makes perfect sense and reminds us of how our culture emerged out of a close relationship with nature. Environmental problems just seem so far away. In our city, we don't pay any rent because someone else is using our free space when we do not need it. My living room is used for business meetings when I am not there. Once in a while, I would choose to cook for myself. It is easy. The necessary kitchen equipment is delivered at my door within minutes. And since transportation became free, we all stopped having those things stuffed into our home. Why keep a pasta maker or a crepe cooker jammed into the cupboards? We can just order them when we need them. It comes by, drone delivers it to your front door, and then it's dropped off, and then you use it, and you set it back out, and a little drone comes by and picks it up and takes it on back to the appliance factory in the cloud. Oh, such a perfect utopia. I yawn for those days when, man, I have this big bread maker down there, but I don't make bread every day. Why need a bread maker? I'll just go ahead, pick up my smartphone, or I don't even need to pick it up. I just need to telepathically go, order me a bread maker. And they're like, we'll just bring you bread. And you're like, no, I would like the bread maker today. I just want to use the bread maker. Shall I include the flour in the pre-made bread mix for you? Yes. And it'll come in, and you'll set it right down, and you'll just add some water, and it'll go ping in 30 seconds like that pizza on Back to the Future 2. And then the drone will come and drift away your bread maker back to the appliance factory in the cloud. The cloud. The cloud is just up there. It's just out there. It no longer is a repository for our data. Our cloud is now a repository for our appliances and our artifacts. But let's go on. This also barely made the breakthrough of the circular economy easier when products are turned into services. No one has an interest in things with a short lifespan. Everything is designed for durability, repairability, and recyclability. I want to stop on that comment because nothing in our society is designed for durability, repairability, or recyclability. Consider these iPhones. You cannot recycle them. They do not fix them. They make them to be, as soon as you have one tiny thing that on any other device was a fixable item, they run it through a shredder, send it to a landfill, and just send you a new one. We don't have anything built for durability. They don't want things to be durability. That's the part of the light bulb conspiracy. If you watch that tinfoil hat time or the accompanying documentary, go check it out. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's called The Light Bulb Conspiracy, talking about planned obsolescence, building weaknesses into the things that we have so that they do stop working prematurely, so we have to throw it away. Because do you remember those times, if you're young you don't, when you had a VCR and it would break and you would take it to the VCR repairman because it was cheaper to get a VCR repaired than it was to buy a new one? Nowadays, a VCR breaks down, and we don't even have those anymore. A DVD player breaks down. We just toss it in the trash and go out to the store and spend another $50 on another one. We don't have any repairability. Recyclability? Yeah, right. Do you know where the computer recyclable factory is in your town? Most people don't. We don't have products built for durability, repairability, or recyclability. We have things built as consumable disposables. The materials are flowing more quickly in our economy and can be transformed into new products pretty easily. Environmental problems seem so far away since we only use clean energy and clean production methods, like solar that causes excessive pollution just to produce one panel, that if it lives its lifespan of 90 years, it might break even on the carbon released to manufacture the panel. The air is clean, the water is clean, and no one would dare to touch the protected areas of nature because they constitute such value. I gotta write down another note down here. I'm just gonna leave a big thing down here like this, and we're gonna come back to that point later. No one would dare! Who would dare? Like, who would dare trample someone? Who would dare write graffiti? Who would dare step on a protected area in a national park? Who would dare any of that stuff? No one would dare do that because nature constitutes such value to our well-being. Sounds like Romans 1. We worship the creation rather than the creator. Let's get back to that one later. In the cities, we have plenty of green space and plants and trees all over. I still do not understand why in the past we filled all the free spots in our city with concrete. The funny thing is all of the projections about these green and smart cities in 2030 are all concrete or glass. The death of shopping, folks. Who needs to do that burdensome shopping? Shopping, I can't remember what that is. For most of us, it has been turned into choosing things to use. Sometimes I find this fun, but now I just let the algorithm do it for me. It knows my tastes better than I do by now. When AI and robots took over so much of our work, we suddenly had time to eat well, to sleep well, to spend time with other people. The concept of rush hour makes no sense anymore since the work we can do will be at any time. I do not really know if I would call it work anymore. It's like thinking time, creation time, development time. For a while, everything was turned into entertainment and people did not want to bother themselves with difficult issues. It was only the last minute we found out how to use all these new technologies for a better purpose than just killing time. They live different kinds of lives outside the city. My biggest concern is for people who do not live in the city. We must have compassion on all those people who do not let the algorithm do their shopping for them, who have disposable underwear worn by other people in society, and who have no place to call their own to let their hair let down. That is my biggest concern, is for people who do not live in our city, those we lost on the way, those who decided it became too much. all this technology. Those who felt obsolete and useless when robots and AI took over the big parts of our jobs. Big parts of our jobs? How about when the robots and AI took over all of our jobs? Those who get upset with the political system and turned against it. They live different kinds of lives outside the city. Some have formed little self-supplying communities. Others just stayed in the empty and abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. Kind of like The Village. Once in a while, I get annoyed about the fact I have no real privacy. Nowhere I can go and not be registered. 1984? I know that somewhere everything I do, think, and dream is recorded. I just hope that no one will use it against me. All in all, life is good, much better than the path we were on, where it became so clear we could not continue the same model of growth. We had all had these terrible things happening: lifestyle diseases, climate change, the refugee crisis, environmental degradation, completely congested cities, water pollution, air pollution, social unrest, and unemployment. We lost way too many people before we realized we could do things differently. There's an author's note down here. I'm going to read this. Some people have read this blog as my utopia or dream of the future. It is not. It is a scenario showing where we could be headed for better or for worse. I wrote this piece to start a discussion about some of the pros and the cons of the current technological development, and we are dealing with the future. It is not enough to work with reports. We should start discussions in new ways, and this is the intention of this piece. And that is why I want to talk about this tinfoil hat time today, to bring up the discussion. What is the good? What is the bad? Frankly, I think this is downright creepy, but let's go ahead and discuss that in more detail. Oh boy, lots of comments came through. I wasn't reading them, but I saw them come through. Tuning in from the future. Oh boy. Did you ketchup and sushi were original? Did I know ketchup and sushi were original Chinese foods? I knew ketchup, or I knew sushi was. I did not know ketchup was. That's fascinating. Many products and foods used and consumed today were originally invented in China. I would not be surprised. Soylent Green. That's exciting. Okay, tasty. You guys like? I don't know if it's bad marketing or brilliant marketing, but you guys watch the it's a new full meal replacement. It's called Soylent. Supposed to replace entire meals. Now, I wouldn't touch the stuff. Frankly, as somebody who actually has degrees in that kind of stuff, I think that stuff is the most poisonous thing you could put in your body in modern era. But it's just it's good and healthy. It follows all of the latest science, whatever that's worth. Someone should write a book about dystopian smart cities and name it 2030. Maybe I'll do that. That sounds fun. I can still own all of my products. How are they going to take away our ownership rights? That's my fascinating question. How long? Streaming media is preventing you from owning movies or games. That's the reality. That's a sad reality. We are already moving in this world where we are already losing all of this. They're already taking away your ownership of movies and games. I can still own my computer and use Linux. That is right. They have not done it for our personal computers yet. There is Linux. Yep, they're going to try. For now, in a decade, they might start nipple a system where you have to lease. Well, I mean, there's already places where you can lease all your furniture. I've seen Aaron's Appliance. It's a rental store. And we're going to get into some of these in a minute when we get into this. Collectivism at its finest. Oh, you have no idea about collectivism at its finest. Sounds like communism. Yes, that's essentially what this is. Some degree of full communism, but it begs some fascinating questions we are going to ask. They are on my list to ask. Wondering if this will lead to similar society in Logan's Run. Some people have been suggesting that, which I have not seen that movie. I'll have to go watch it. When I buy a home, I'm going to remove all the smart electronics and make it like a house before smart devices existed. Actually, I'm watching right now a series on TruthStream Media where they were trying to get the smart meter out of their house and the hoops you had to jump through to do that. So it's getting freaky out there. We'll go back to sheets like ancient Rome. Unless they make these smart houses a legal requirement. Well, you know what? It would not surprise me if they do. So as in places where these smart meters are being deployed, they actually deployed one in the house where I was living out west. And if you have an analog meter and you want a smart meter, they're like, oh yeah, we'll be out there like this week and we'll put it in there. But if you want to go from a smart meter back to an analog meter, it's like a 2-month process. Lots of paperwork, signing documents. It's insanity. It's insanity. If everything is provided to you, who actually creates the things that are needed? Ah, fascinating question, Spider Eyes, and we are going to get to that question. I just don't understand how my brain works. I'm tired the whole day, and around 9 p.m. magically start getting productive. Wambo, that is why I work for myself, and I set the schedule that I do. Because if you want me to be productive at 9 in the morning, it doesn't happen. You want me to be productive at noon? It might happen. You want to be productive at 2 in the morning? Oh yeah, I'm productive at 2 in the morning. That's why you kind of need to do that kind of stuff. Kitty, kitty. Yeah. He's just looked too comfortable over there. Whole IoT stuff sounds creepy. Yes, it is. We need to unsmart our lives and become more intelligent. Yep. Smart homes can be cool, but you have to disconnect it from the internet. Yeah, and that's the thing is I absolutely love what this technology can do. I hate what they're doing with this technology. That's that challenge, is that I really, really wish we could get all this stuff separated. I would love to have a biometric health tracker that doesn't connect to the internet. I would love to have that data. I would love to throw that on and have it record the heart rate throughout the day, record all the things they record throughout the day. I just don't want one because I have to connect them to the servers in the sky. And that means giving my health and biometric data to someone else. And that's a dangerous thing. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. But I love what the technology can do. We just got to have a way to do it without that connection. Should all start writing bamboo scrolls in paper like ancient China. Yeah, there you go. Cloud will become a repository for our souls. Yes. IoT and social media is the death of individuality. Indeed it is. And social justice. Don't forget that. Yeah. Most of us don't even have DVDs anymore. See, that's the thing that I want to own the movies that I have, and buying the DVD is the way that I can own it. So this is where we have this major problem with DMCA copyright law, that I cannot take my own DVD that I own and I bought, and I can't easily convert it to a digital file and watch it for my own personal use. That violates the law. That's stupid, but it violates the law. Social justice is a rival of collectivism. Sounds too fictionist, even with AI. Greed and germs will keep mankind from this ideology. Yes, LJ, and that was actually the note that I wrote down that we're going to discuss. Humanity will be homogeneous gray masses of a collective mind. Sounds like the Matrix. Greeting Mega Pokemaniac. Sweet. Just pop a pill and shut up. Oh, we're going to get into that too. We're going to get into that too. People came too lazy with technology and depend on what it's used for. Wish all Americans had a nice Thanksgiving. All right. Well, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving. Thank you. When you think about amalgam teeth fillings from a medical perspective, are you talking about the mercury ones or the more porcelain ones? If they contain mercury, I mean, I'm still not all that keen on them. However, they do release less mercury in your body than your average fish pulled out of the Atlantic Ocean. So you have that perspective to keep in mind. But it really depends on what it is, and there's a lot of dentists out there. What you should do is find a dentist that uses non-mercury based fillings like mine does. So if I get a filling or something, it doesn't have mercury in it. So that's what I would do, is find a dentist who does things that don't have the metals. Use more of the porcelain-y type things. I don't like this IoT stuff. Creeps me out. Privacy is not important to people anymore. No, and a lot of it is, a lot of the people who know what this kind of stuff is, they don't really want it much either. It's just the challenge that seems to occur is the big companies push us out so much it becomes like a peer pressure or a status symbol to start getting it. And so the little sheeple in the masses end up picking up these IoT devices, but the people who create them won't even touch them in reality. Is this all planned long ago for nefarious purposes? There is some theory that yes. Nice choice for tinfoil hat time 46. I work for city government near Lisbon. Smart cities talk is now the buzzword. They want to start to put smart meters. Yep. Yep, yep. And you know, one of the things you can do with smart meters is you can set peak electricity times and charge more for peak usage. And if you have an analog meter, they can't tell if you're using during the peak usage. But the smart meter, they can. I still own VCRs. I got one. I want to get rid of it. I need to get a couple more things formatted into digital from my own personal old movie library. But that's kind of why I still have it. Here in California, where I live, many houses are still traditional technological style. Yep. Still not have IoT devices. That's probably a good thing. All right. So let's go ahead and address some of my questions that I have. So what is good about us not owning things anymore? And if you some of the clips that particular author had said do make some sense. She's done several talks. One of them, she's like, you know, we don't want the drill. We want the ability to put a hole in the wall. And of course she takes that to that degree and says, we don't want the car, we want the ability to get somewhere. And if that's kind of a slippery slope argument. It really is, like, just because the drill function with the hole, I get that, but should we just call Uber and Lyft for transportation? I won't call Uber. They club kitties. No. And so that's the whole matter with that. So, and this begged a fascinating question, because as I've been thinking about this week, I actually needed to use my drill. So what happens if I don't have a drill here? Well, if this smart city happened and I could just pick up my phone and say, I need a drill, and then a drill magically comes down, I go out to my drone landing pad, pick up my drill my holes, go put the drill back, and some drone comes by and picks it up. That probably wouldn't be a bad thing, even the concept of a rental. But this is why we have community, and why the IoT is breaking down our community, because it makes us individualistic. So I happen to have multiple friends with drills. So if I really needed a drill and I didn't have one, I could be like, hey, I need a drill. I'm going to come over, get a drill. Okay. And I go over, get a drill, come back, drill my holes, and drop the drill back. And guess what? It produces a time to discuss things and have some conversations with my friend. So there are a lot of things. In fact, one guy, as I've been studying minimalism, one guy who's a minimalist out there, he said, and I forget what the resource was, but this is what he said. He's like, you know, I use Craigslist for my storage locker. He's like, I don't really need to have a drill, but if I need a hole, I just look on Craigslist and find somebody selling a drill. Okay, great. I'm going to go pick up that drill, maybe spend $5 on it, drill my hole, and then turn around and sell the drill back on Craigslist again. And he might even sell it for the same amount or more than what he bought it for. You know, in which case, you get your drill, you do that. Does it take longer? Sure. It's definitely more inconvenient to do that than it is to have a drone deliver it to you, because your brainwave said, I need a hole. So rental is fine in many of those respects. There are certainly things that renting makes sense. Like, for example, a paint sprayer. Suppose I want to paint the inside of my house. I want to do the whole inside of my house. So I, move my furniture out. I have U-Haul drop off a pod in my front yard. I use all my furniture out there. And I'm not going to go out and buy a paint sprayer for $100 when I can rent one for $20. But is that a real big deal? Like, and I start thinking about this more and more as I'm more and more of a minimalist. What do I really need? What is it would be nice to have? And what is it I should just totally get rid of? And so those are some of those questions you ask. So in a society where you do not own anything, there are certain elements to that are good, because maybe I don't need a drill in my house. Like, I have a jigsaw down here. I don't think I turned on the jigsaw for 2 or 3 years. Okay, I have a drill that I used it the other day. Prior to that, I think it was 1.5 years, 2 years before I used the drill. So there's things like that it makes some degree of sense. But when all products have become a service, when everything has become a service, now we have no ownership at all. In a perfect society, that would be awesome. But there's this little fundamental problem. And that fundamental problem happens to be human nature. And we're going to talk more about human nature later, because I'm going to drop that word in several times before we talk about it. So what is not good about a society that doesn't own anything? Well, first and foremost, I think this goes later. First and foremost, owning products is generally cheaper than renting them. If everything is a service, now, is it for free that I pick up my smartphone and go, ooh, I need a drill, and for free some drill comes down, picks it up? Not blimmin' likely. It's going to be a little service fee. It's like Uber is not free. Lyft is not free. Cat taxis are not free. I can right now live in this city, despite I live offside, I can live in this city without a car. I wouldn't want to. In fact, we have very good public transportation here, but I wouldn't want to live here without the car. You know, I just don't. I'd rather just have the freedom at whether it's 10 in the morning or 10 at night. I love the freedom to just jump in there without some company or some person knowing where I'm going. And if I'm that paranoid about it, I'll leave the phone at home or wrap the thing in some tinfoil. You know, I mean, either way works. But owning things is generally cheaper because these are not going to be free. It's going to cost me, you know, 3 Republican Dideras or whatever to rent my drill. And I have to decide, do I rent the drill or do I watch such and such new movie that has come on the streaming service? Because society's not going to be this free and open thing. Because ultimately it comes down to the big white elephant in the room. And somebody mentioned it earlier in the comments. You have this whole smart city. You have drones going all over. They're dropping off appliances. Someone's picking up the laundry. All these types of things. You know what? All of those things are owned by somebody. You know who they're owned by? They're owned by the elite. They're owned by the people who run the companies. They're owned by the governments that run the city. They're owned by somebody. These are not communal items. They are owned items. And renting something is always more expensive than buying something. Well, I guess unless you're an idiot. So somebody owns all this stuff. Somebody is going to make a killing. And this is why DVDs are getting harder and harder and harder to find. Because movie industry wants us on the streaming services. Because although they may make less money for their movie now on a streaming service, you get people addicted to always have the streaming service. And they'd rather have a tenth of the cost for 15 years than the whole cost one time now. And that's ultimately the thing. In this smart city they're talking about, somebody owns all this stuff. Just like somebody owns the drill. Somebody owns the car. Lyft had this big thing. It's getting expensive to own a car. Car ownership is all expensive. And they talk about all of this kind of stuff. They talk about all of this kind of stuff. Car ownership is expensive. It's expensive. It's expensive. You know what? It's not. Their figures are based on the average American. The average American has a $500 car payment. And that's cheaper than leasing the car in the long run. But if you are intelligent and you buy a car based on your budget, you can buy a car. I bought my car for $6,000, I think 8 years ago. I bought my car for $6,000. I put tires and oil changes into it. I replaced two CV boots, and that didn't take me long, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and a $50 part. You know, the cost of car ownership. Now, of course, we have to talk about insurance, which I only end up paying, you know, $500 every 6 months, and gas, maybe $100 a month. That doesn't come close to $9,000 per year. Not even close. But what's my cost of using Lyft or using Uber or using a cab or using the bus? Minus the fact that I have to call on that. Minus the fact that somebody's tracking where I'm going, what I'm doing, what are my times, what are all these. I'd rather have the car. And frankly, car ownership can be a lot cheaper. You just don't do it like the average American does it. Because the average American is in debt up to their eyeballs. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Then they got debt out the wazoo, hundreds of credit cards, student loan out the craziness. It's not a good situation. And so you have these types of things. So somebody owns all this stuff. We're talking about this perfect utopian society. We don't own all products that become services. And services still cost money. Even if it's just a perceived money. What about sentimental items? Do you guys have sentimental items? I have sentimental items. Now, I try not to have a lot of sentimental items. I try and keep my sentimental items to a minimum. But I have sentimental items. And with these sentimental items, where do we put them? If people are always using our free space, because they talk about, you know, How often are you in your house? Well, if you're a modern average Western person who goes to a 9 to 5, you spend more time at your job than you do at your house. And of course, it makes sense in that case for, oh, you're not there during these times, so we're going to use your living room to have a business meeting. Okay, yeah, sounds great. Well, where do you put your sentimental items? Where do you put your sentimental belongings? Where do you put the things that mean something to you, even though they may or may not mean something to anybody else? Where do you put those items that mean something to you? And let's address that last question that they said on this part. Remember this sentence down here? Got to find it again. My biggest, let's see. Once in a while, I get annoyed about the fact I have no real privacy, nowhere I can go and not be registered. I know that somewhere, everything I do, think, and dream is recorded. I just hope that no one uses that against me. Isn't it a whole lot better to not have all that stuff recorded and not worry about it? My take. That's my take. We all need a private place to let our hair down. We need a private place to turn off from the world. We need a private place to be ourselves and pick our nose and fart. Okay? We just need it. Something we need. And that's the reality, because without that, you become a person in a totally watched society. A totally watched society is a scary thing. They did studies on this stuff, and it makes people crazy. That's the society we'd be living in. Oh, boy. I like this IoT stuff. Creeps me out. Is privacy not important? Okay. Idiocracy is right around the corner. My house still uses analog meters. Idiocracy is already here. They think water meters are the solutions for all problems. I warned about the privacy concerns of these things, and they stare at me as if I was from Mars. But we want to collect all these people's data. We want to monopolize all of this data, man. Data's cool. Data's cool. They're using smart restrooms in China. Yeah, you see that? You need to do facial recognition scanning, and you get 3 meters of toilet paper every, like, 7 or 12 minutes. Creepy. I want my stuff. I got a big game collection. I don't want streaming. I like boxes and want to play the games even when the servers are dead. That's true. That's true, Xiphoid Process. I want the same thing. I just do not want to play video games that I have to play online. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't mind if the game has an online component, but I want to be able to play my games. I want to be able to buy my games and have a copy. And if the whole rest of the world blows up and I manage to squirrel a computer out in a Faraday cage and I still have my computer and my DVD, I want to be able to pull in that computer, plug it into the solar-powered grid, install my video game, and play. That's what I paid for. That's what I want. Smart devices may require internet connection to run. What will happen when the servers go down? Well, actually, Carbon Programmer, that question has been answered numerous times by companies buying out an IoT system, like Google did this, and then they shut the servers down, and when the server goes down, the device becomes useless. I don't like toilets with those electric doors. I like proper mechanical lock, and I know it's shut. Yeah, that's right. Introducing the Windows TM Toilet, now fully integrated with the OneDrive in Cortana. Oh, I see your stool is a little soft today. Would you like me to send you some medications for that? No, Cortana, no! I'll log this data into the servers. You can refer back to it later. Stool is soft. Stool is soft. Portugal, we already have smart meters in some houses. Yeah, we have them out here, a lot of them. Most smart devices can without internet connection, but the companies don't allow that. It depends on what it is, but for the most part, Almost all the newer IoT devices are coming out with the requirement of being on their servers. That's why, like, the IP cameras that I have in my office, they do not connect to any servers anywhere. They're completely controlled by my own internal server. But there's a lot of those on the market now. They're not like that. They are fully dependent on their home server functioning to work. If everything is a service, the people owning the services will be powerful. And that is the point. That is the point. The people behind the services will have the power. And us little peons, we will just become the little tiny masses. Just keep them happy. We'll have little places to plug these people in, like in 1984. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Peers, I have not renewed your monthly Windows toilet license. Please pay $29.99 monthly to Microsoft in order to reactivate your Windows toilet. Hello, Anna Rita. How's it going? Downtown, there are toilets you have to pay money to use. Yeah, I remember those. Takes a quarter for the toilet slot. Yeah. I think our world is becoming a lazy society, which is sad and scary. And we are going to address that on some of our next points. A society without owners is communism. No wonder the fauna at Silicon Valley is all for services, as the old communist middle class is both the prey and the real enemy. But the reality is, though, is they're not pushing real communism. They're pushing a communism where the top people own all of this stuff and everyone else just gets the chance to take part in it. That's what they want. Do you think that the big powerful companies are going to give up what they own? No, of course not. Lyft doesn't want you to have cars. They want to own them all. Uber doesn't want you to own cars. They want to own the cars. Because then you are dependent on them to hail for a ride. And that costs money. And that's the problem. Sure, if it's lazy or just anxieties are now prevalent more than a decade ago. People are closing themselves off in their safe spaces, which is inside their homes. I think it's both, actually. There is certainly a degree of laziness, and actually we will get to that in a few moments. We're going to get to that one very soon. In fact, maybe we'll do that one. No, we're gonna get down to that one in a few minutes. Okay, if it's the machines that run themselves, they own us and refuse to comply with digital life, I'm sure they will enjoy freedoms of the internet, but I also enjoy privacy. Okay. So if the machines that run themselves, then they own us. You know what, LJ? If the machines run themselves and they own us, okay, that is the perfect segue into the audio clip I want to play. So this one here, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. Like I said, I'm going to take down the live stream version of this when we're done, so hopefully it won't be an issue. But I am going to play for you guys now an audio clip. And this is from Adventures in Odyssey, Volume 45. The volume is Lost and Found. The episode is called Back to Abnormal. Now, this is the fascinating part about this clip. If you think back to 2006, we didn't even have smartphones yet. This is an audio clip recorded for an episode released in 2006. Are you ready?
You need orange juice. Hey.
Sorry, I gotta reset that. Hold on. I gotta reset the audio clip.
You need orange juice, eggs, and Parmesan cheese.
What was that?
The refrigerator. I programmed in the menu for this coming week, and it lets us know what ingredients we need. One of my little improvements.
Oh, well, I happen to get those things and a few more.
We're overstocked in ice cream and cantaloupe.
Eugene, we're not overstocked. I bought extra things to have on hand.
Oh, well, I'll simply make some adjustments.
You know, I planned on having lasagna tonight, but I'm more in the mood for chicken. Will you turn on the oven? Set it at 350.
But the refrigerator is planning on us having lasagna.
I won't let the refrigerator run my life.
You are low on chicken.
Well, then I'll merely need to program in the change of menu.
Current oven temperature 120 degrees. Heating to...
Don't tell me you hooked up voice controls to the oven as well.
Well, I thought it'd be helpful.
And that's supposed to be 350, Eugene.
Well, I understand. But you see, Katrina, when I programmed in the menu, lasagna was planned for this evening.
You are overstocked in ice cream, cheese,
Eugene, this is going to drive me crazy.
Relax, Katrina. In the long run, this will make our lives much more efficient.
I need some water.
Well, once you get used to automated appliances, you'll...
Sink completely off.
The sink, Eugene? This is ridiculous. I don't need all of this. I don't want any of this.
But I've recently discovered the benefits of voice-controlled technology. It's quite simple, actually. Once an appliance is programmed, other appliances only require some slight adjustments, and the same microchip can be utilized.
Turn oven temperature to 160 degrees.
Okay, they go on, and eventually they're like, maybe we should have the oven has its heart set on chicken. Maybe we should just have that instead. Okay, so that was recorded in 2006, before all this smart technology junk happened to appear, and so it's just like so telling what they came on. And of course, the only difference is in that episode, he still programmed the things in. In this world they're talking about, these smart devices program that based on their algorithm automatically. That is scary. Oh boy. Sharing economy equals work and earn money during your spare time. Well, I do not have spare time, but you will have spare time with this economy. I only need $2,000 to pay bills, but that is because our house was paid for last year in November, which is why we're so happy as the house is ours now. Yep. Let's not forget about how everyone on average owes debt. Yep. About $8,000 just in credit card debt on average. Student loan debt average is $35,000. Car debt right now is like, I think 16 or something thousand. Communism has been tried before, paranoid spying and all, and it's failed hard. Yeah, and it's just getting worse. Yeah. Imagine smart cities and RFID chip installed on everyone. The concept of privacy will be non-existent. Yes, indeed. It's a good point. It's not all about owning something or about being able to make use of it. Some of these things are not much more personal and personalized by the individual owner. Yeah. Everyone has something to hide. It's not all illegal stuff. Many things are just things you don't want to share. I got that your strong urge to hug the cat. Kitty, kitty. Someone wants to hug you. Show about making a Faraday cage for a Raspberry Pi. That would be interesting. China is forcing 250 million people from the country to new cities they've built. Of course, it's much easier to surveil people than than when they're out in the rice paddies. Yep. I'd rather live in 1990s when the internet was new than be in 2030. Yep. There's one state senator that's forcing a bill from being voted on that would make smart meters voluntary instead of mandatory. Godshaw from the eastern end of PA. Cool. Wait, forcing a bill from being voted on that would make smart meters voluntary. I'll have to look into that some more. Heard about Tesla's experiment with using your car as an auto taxi while you're at work. No, I haven't. Is Tesla going to pay me a lot of money for this? That car better be free. Another problem with smart water meters is there is no mechanical way to check water flow, just little pixels on the screen. Yep. Technocracy. I'll have to look into technocracy. In medicine, they are coming out with a smart pill that lets someone know whenever you do or don't take your medicines. Yes, that is a very scary app. The app, of course, the data goes to the cloud again, and then anyone that the doctor wants to have access on the app can view it on the app, and you can see all of the different data about the pill. That's very scary. Real problem I have with IoT devices is they're not hackable. If I could edit the text... Oh, they're hackable, just not in the way you're wanting to. Yeah, Dylan, I'd definitely avoid those. What do you think about having Uber, having data, hack somebody's data, and then paying $100,000 ransom? I talked about that a little bit in the yesterday's show. Uber's they're just a stupid company. I think Uber should just close. So they tried to cover it up and didn't want people to know about it. Yep. And that's why they should... They're not a trustworthy company. They should just be closed down. Smart pill is really a way to disguise the acknowledge of inserting an RFID chip. Wouldn't surprise me. Audio clip makes me think exactly how I felt when those fridges came to the scene. Eugene, stop this nonsense. Yep. The myth of efficiency. Our society starts to resemble a madhouse. Imagine the Chinese social credit system combined with IoT technology. The irony is when people realize how annoying IoT can be, the classical analogical appliances that are cheap now are going to be luxury items. Yep. You were live streaming as always, seeing the cute little kitty. Yep, he's being cute. What is the breed of the cat? It is, well, part tabby and part whatever else jumped over the fence. I do not want to hug the cat, but I want to take him with me. I guess that is a kidnapped. Kitty, someone wants to kidnap you now. You want to go live in Canada? Eh? Mix is in the future, I'm afraid. And that's the funny thing, is that was like before smartphones. That mix was done before smartphones. Start buying more traditional appliances instead of IoT appliances when I leave high school and or college. Yeah, definitely buy those. Catnaps. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our next point. What would we do? In this smart city where everyone owns everything, what do we do? And of course, robots have taken over all the jobs. That seems pretty apparent. You know, drones are going to drop things off. What do we as citizens do? Well, I would say about 70 or 80% of us would be co-opted by the government to redesign all of the constant media programming so that us people, you know, are at the whim of the government because, you know, that tends to be what happens. But here's the thing. Now, there is a fascinating book. I'd encourage everybody to read this book. It is called Einstein's Dreams, and I don't think it's right here. No, it's in the other room. I can't remember the author of it, but if you look up the book, it's called Einstein's Dreams. It's basically a physicist who's also just a general fiction author. He writes this book talking about what would society be like if time behaved differently? And it's a series of short essays. What would happen if time stopped and started? What happens if time went on forever? What happens if time went backwards? What happens, you know? So they address every possible thing you could do with time. One of those, my favorite story, is what if time went on forever? The whole world would break down into nows and laters, he describes in his book. And the nows would say with an infinite amount of time, people could become an infinite amount of things. They could take the time to be a store owner. They could take the time to be a doctor. They could take the time to be a writer. They could take the time to do all of these types of things. But then there's another class of people called the laters. With an infinite amount of time, they see no reason to rush into anything. And so they are always the people who have the low-level jobs because they're always more focused on having fun and hanging out and the social aspect of the world. And so what happens is you get a societal split based on people's natural inclination to either be productive or not be productive. That's what would happen in a society. Because with everybody effectively having every need and every service handed to them, we have our relevancy as humans in a productive society are gone. We have relevancy when we work as people. Work is what gives a man his pride. When a man loses his job, it is a strike to his soul. And sorry to be offensive, but that's not always the case to that degree to a female. It is a male type thing. It's just one of those male sociology views. Just like more males commit suicide over financial issues, more females commit suicide over social issues, friendship issues, things like that. There are statistics when you actually look at some of these things. And what would happen in this society because of this, and irrespective of sex, because either gender can be, you know, can be a now or a later in this way. But if you have the basic concept of all of your needs being met, and as a productive society, we need to sit back in here and ask ourselves. Now, in the article, they say we have time to be creative, we have time to think, we have time to develop. And I have this fundamental question: to what end are we creating? To what end are we thinking? To what end are we developing? Because we have become useless. And a useless being cannot come up with a use in society. It's a fundamental aspect of who we are as people. We have to have a use. We have to have a reality. We have to have a goal we're moving towards. But in this subjective reality, what would happen is we would turn into people who will either become like the poverty-minded, or we will become like the middle-class minded, or we will become like the wealthy-minded. So this is a book, and I forget the author and even the title of the book. It's a sociology book, and it analyzes the types of behaviors that people have, and looks at the three main classes: poverty class, middle class, and upper class. And it says, here's $100. If you give $100 to a person in the upper class, what they will generally do is invest it. And that's not because they're already wealthy and all their needs are met. It's because they've gotten wealthy generally by investing more. So a person who invests more is generally a wealthy person who doesn't invest more. Okay? And yes, there is some argument that they had enough money to invest, but we're going to set that aside. But if you just take these three people, one from each class, you give the wealthy person 100, because they could easily take that 100 and go, bonus, let's go out and buy dinner for friends. But they don't. They invest it. If you take that same $100 and give it to a middle-class person, they're going to look through their budget, they're going to look through their bills, and they're going to say, where can I apply this as some need that I currently have? Does this mean I buy extra groceries this month for later? Does this mean I pay off that medical bill that's been nagging me? Do I, where do I put this $100 to help lighten the load on what I do? But if you give $100 to a poverty-minded person, the first thing they do, they go out, they buy a lot of beer and party stuff, and they throw a party for all their friends. It's society nature. Because they're so used to having nothing, when you give them something for free, they just go out and rush out and buy. And that's what would happen in our society. If you give people all their needs met and now give them that free time to be creative and to think and to develop, only a very small fraction of people will actually take the time to be creative and to think and to develop. The majority of your people, you give them all those things, they're going to sit their butt on the couch and watch TV all day. That's what's going to happen. It's just a reality of what's going to happen. So there will be a few people, if you gave me a lot of that time, I'd be studying more programming, I'd be doing a whole lot more things, I'd be writing more books, I'd be doing a lot more productive things that I can't do right now because I don't have the income to support me doing all of those things, okay? But if you gave that to your average person, and a good example is, I have two neighbors here that don't work. One of them is, disabled. One of them is simply elderly. Well, they have an unlimited amount of time. All they ever do is sit there and watch TV. That's a problem. They have an infinite amount of resources. They have all their needs met by either welfare or retirement accounts. But they don't do anything productive. They don't take time to think. They don't take time to be creative. They don't take time to develop. And if you take a society that has no point, you remove any possibility. Because if I'm in this society where everything is communal, I have no incentive to create. At the point in time when everything becomes communal like they're talking about, that is the point in time when progress stops. It's not when religion happens. True Christianity is for progress. But when we get to a society that every need is met and everybody is on a socialist thing, all things are communal, everything is shared, or just this crazy lower class, you have this upper class that you can only be born into, a caste system as it were, you have no incentive to produce. You have no incentive to create. And you don't want to find yourself. Because if you find yourself, then you live this horrible existence of knowing what else is out there and being able to do nothing about it. So you sit down and you watch your TV shows like Good Little Boys and Good Little Girls. Oh, boy. Oh. I looked at Technocracy News today. That was an interesting site. There's a heart in his fur. Yes, there is a heart in his fur. Yes. He has so much love. He actually has one on the other side, too. He has two hearts on his fur. Yes, he is such a loving kitty that God gave him hearts on the outside, too. Right, kitty? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I know. About UN's agenda to control the world's population through technology. That's what people are saying, James. Indeed. And I'm looking at all these numbers going, I think I might almost agree with all of that. That's kind of scary. In fact, I was watching some things on Rockefeller and their take at eugenics. They were doing the exact same thing Nazi Germany did. It's just Nazi Germany gave it a bad name, so they had to change the names. That same exact stuff was going on right here in the United States. But since Nazi Germany was so bad, traditional appliances still have microchips. They've been in appliances for 20 or 30 years. Yes, the question is, are they capable? Like, even some of your dumb TVs still have the capability of getting online, and that's kind of scary. So you have to open them up and double check. Why don't cats run in their dreams like dogs? I don't know. It would be kind of funny, though, if they did. The cars, though, North American cars have been chipped since 1985. Older ones should be fine. Yep. Cats dream about sleeping, while dogs dream about chasing sticks. Maybe. When did we start to call ourselves consumers instead of citizens? A couple years ago, in fact. Spend less time. We do not need to work 60 hours a week or even 40, but 30 hours a week and make enough money for us to live and with extra time to do hobbies, etc. That's the thing, is we need to figure out how we can work less and do more for society as a collective. Well, I don't want to use the word collective because that's not really a good word. And the reality is, like, I know people that they're so busy on their day jobs. They wake up so early. They go out to their day jobs. They come home late at night. They only have like 3 or 4 hours to themselves before I have to go to bed and do it all over again. Live for the weekends, live for the vacation days. And life is kind of miserable in many respects. I don't want to give that much time to some job, Live alone, much harder to get to the point where you can do that. Well, Spider Eyes, I live alone, and I've actually set myself up to the point where I don't have to wake up to an alarm clock anymore. I usually try and squeeze in about 30 hours of billable hours in a week. I usually don't quite get that many. And a lot of the rest of the time I work on developing the video channels here because I'm wanting the video production and the content creation to eventually overtake the web design, because I think that web design is a dying field. But I'll always keep it around a little bit. But at the same token, you got to be careful. Like, what I'm doing right now isn't always going to be a viable income source, and so that's why I'm focusing more on content creation. Probably post-World War II, when consumers were introduced to the war, torn Europe and Japan supplemented their ideology with consumerism to hinge the earth. Yeah, that's probably about right. Indeed, thinking and creating are hard to do. They take effect. Not everyone's willing to put that kind of work in unless they have to. Morlocks in the Eloi. I don't know who that is. There's a caste system in India where religion was used to justify the system. Yeah, here in America we have a caste system. It's based on income, though. There's actually a documentary out there. I watched it once. It basically follows the lives of all of the people born into the trust funds, like the Johnson kids and the Kardashian kids and all these. Man, they live some screwed up lives. Balance out society's safety nets with capitalism like the Scandinavian countries have. But we need true capitalism. Unfortunately, what we have in this country now is a corporatocracy or an oligarchy or both. The capitalism has morality built in, and the capitalists will not trample over somebody's well-being for the almighty dollar. They'll provide a valuable service and be honest about what that service is. We don't have that anymore. We just have big companies that will do everything and anything they can to separate somebody from their money, and that's the problem. Wife, no kids, but that works on theory, because why am I living it and works for me? Yep. In fact, Spider Eyes, that's kind of what my point is behind the outdoor philosophy. So tomorrow's outdoor philosophy is going to be on simplifying your eating. So I actually recorded 2 videos for it. I didn't like the first one, so I recorded it. Maybe I'll do the other one as an alternate for Patreon or something. I don't know what I'll do. Initially, when the Pilgrims got here, they had a communal society and found people didn't work because they didn't have incentive to work. They had to go out to a private property model for people to work. Yeah. Why the quotation marks with disabled? Because I know this individual. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. What do you think about folding at home distributing company? Maybe you create your own Switch Links team. Folding at home distributing? I have no idea. Never heard of that. I'll write that down, and if I get the chance, look into it. Just hasn't worked for me yet. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying what I hope for. I see too many people waiting to live when they retire, but then they die. And that's why you want to start living before you retire. Hey there, Johnny. What up? Not a whole lot is up over here. Okay. Being creative can be difficult, especially with creative writing. Yep. From the Time Machine, H.G. Wells. Very interesting book. Oh, I did not read the Time Machine. Does everyone think of cryptocurrency, true anonymity, or another method of tracking if the banks are now interested in getting involved with it? Yeah. Once the banks get involved with it, I don't know. Even when I was at school, being creative or showing intelligence seemed to be negative to the other kids who end up being made fun of. Yeah, it is that way, unfortunately. And the thing is, the sad thing is, the more creative you are, the more you're shunned for being creative. Although they'll run around and on the surface they're like, follow your dreams! And then when a kid comes up like, I'm going to be following my dreams, they're like, bad kid, get into the system. Bad kid, how dare you follow your dream? They spent the whole time telling these kids to live their dreams. And then all that happens is they're just like, don't live your dreams. Don't live your dreams. Live your dreams. What is it? Is it to live your dreams or is it not to live your dreams? What should we do? Should we live our dreams or should we get in the system? Because we cannot have both, people. We cannot have both. You have to get to the point to where you're living your dreams and you figure out what those dreams are. How can you make an income doing that and then live that out? Because a person following their dream has a whole lot better time in this life than a person who's just doing what the system says. Don't follow that dream. Get your head out of the clouds, kids. Go off to college, get yourself your good job, get your 2.5 kids in your White House with your picket fence and your little puppy dog, and have the American dream. Because we don't have that anymore. And we need to get back to our dreams. We need to get our heads in the clouds a little bit more, and then figure out how that dream with our heads in the clouds can translate to something we can do here. Web page is design being automated, or why do you think it's dying? Can be other types. The problem is that there's too many automated type design tools being created now. Now they create really bad websites, but that doesn't help stop people from using them. So it is kind of a dying industry in that respect. But you know, like there's like still web application programming is not necessarily dying as fast. It's a lot harder to do that. But as far as the stylistic design, you know, there's templating already exists. There's, you know, services like Wix and other related services like that. And these are becoming options a lot more people are using. They're bad options to do, honestly, but they are options and they're getting better. And that's the thing. That you are married. There's a type of Grindr app for Christians. You might like that. No, not interested. Village life will flourish again. And I'm a programmer. Yep. All right. I've been trying to work harder in school so I can get better grades. Arnold Schwarzenegger paraphrase. Work hard now and party later, or party now and work harder later. Huh. I didn't know he came up with that quote. I used to say that to people all the time. The harder you work now, the easier your life will be later, and the easier you take life now, the harder you'll have to work later. I've seen that played out dozens of times. Yes, I went on fire. Very on fire. Okay, maybe this is why nerds are bullied in school. Perhaps we're recognized as being the top of the food chain as a sign of strength. Yeah, you know, you'd always be careful. Gotta be nice to the nerds who might end up working for one. Sacrifice social time, favor working harder. And my uncle talked down to me for it. That's the thing. And but understand this, Carbon. College does the same thing. They have moved to a model where college is no longer about the education. Now it's about the social experience. So you have the social experience of college. You know what the social experience in college leads to? It leads to a higher failure rate in college, which means that you are in school for longer to get out. And guess what that means? More tuition money, more money spent on overpriced apartments, more student loans, more buying books. Ooh, more green stuff for the people telling you to go to college and get your head out of the clouds. But the reality is college is a great thing. But if you're going to college, you're there to learn. And every year you are in college is a big cost to you. So go to college, figure out how to get out of there in 4 years or less, keep your costs low, don't care about the social life, and study. My sister-in-law, man, she would pick on me all the time. You're always studying. You're always studying. You're always studying. Me. I have almost zero debt. I have very, very little debt. I've almost zero. And I have my undergrad, my PhD. You know, that family, brother and his wife, they got a lot of debt. A whole lot of debt. I don't think much of it was from her, but I had no social life in college. Almost no social life in college. I had a friend that I'd go out with him for coffee once a week. We'd go out for about an hour or two once a week for coffee. That was my social life. Oh, and on the weekends I would because I worked 30 hours over the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I got 30 hours in. I took Monday through Thursday off. And then I played some video games at my brother's house Friday night. Up there. That's what we did. But other than that, I had pretty much no social life in college. I didn't really want to get that involved in everything because there's too much at stake. It just takes too much at stake. So that's kind of what I did there. Oh boy. I was told I need to be social and build social connections to be successful. There's an element of that that's true, but you don't want to go out and schmoozing and you know, if it comes down to being social or having skill, I'd rather have the skill than be social. You know, to be honest. Some sort of fear, though I do think a lot of it is just about not being the same as everyone else. Yep. Surprising you haven't read The Time Machine. What about Journey to the Center of the Earth? I'm familiar with it, but I haven't read it. No, actually, John, I really don't spend time reading a lot of fiction. I think I've read 5 or 6 fiction books ever in my life. I don't read fiction. I read a whole lot of nonfiction. I read a whole lot of other things. I just don't have a lot of time for fiction. Maybe overweight, but I excel in math and sciences. There you go. Social connections can help, but I've never used them and ended up all right. Yep. Not only you might work for a nerd, but you might marry one. There you go. Don't work harder, work smarter. Yep. I do not go to school to socialize. I go to school to study. Yep. And that's probably better. That's probably better, you know. You will be better off in the long run if you do that. But you also, in the fact that you choose to do that, means that you're one of that now group. You're not the later group, which means a person in that now group are always going to be the more successful ones in society, which is a reality. So good for you. See if there are any nerd specialized dating sites. I don't know. All right. 40, still studying at the moment, taking a psychology class in a college while I get learning and make time and save money for it because I plan it. Yep. College does not give you a job with good money as it used to before. No, not really. The current statistics, 19% of people with a college degree actually get gainful employment. That's not like employment in their field. That's just gainful employment. If you go up to get an advanced degree, like a doctor's or something like that, your chance of getting a good job drops to 12%. All planned long ago seems too well coordinated. Established system to track and monitor every individual on planet. Socializing does not have to be the same as slacking. That is correct. Can learn cutting hair and Make good money. Yep. What reason for what purpose? Are we too naive to think this is coming and not doing anything about it? Usually think socializing at school. I'm slacking, so I'm studying to be more efficient and productive. It's not a bad thing though to stop and hang out with somebody for a few minutes. That's all right, you know. My wife at the hospital, she was my nurse, and then marry her 3 years later. Did you marry Florence Nightingale? I think we should leave the dating thing. He's getting a bit itchy. Who, me? Oh, I just have no desire to date. Sorry. I have been called to singleness, and I choose that life. And I have a lot of fun with it. Socialize and use that in your study. You can learn how to work together with people. Huh. All right, let's go into another question. Let's talk about automation in this crazy new society. Automation. The algorithm gives me what I want. That frightens me. No, I don't want the algorithm to give me what I want. I want to go out and make my own choices. Now, sometimes my choices might very well be the same. Watch my outdoor philosophy talk tomorrow, and you'll see that kind of playing out. But at the same token, understand that when the algorithm decides for you, then indeed your oven and your refrigerator are going to conspire to make you chicken when you really want lasagna. But what happens is we become so apathetic as a society that we stop. We don't even care anymore. Just put food on the table. And when we get to that point of apathy, what happens when the algorithm starts giving us things that we don't really want, but it convinces us that we think we want them because there's an overproduction of that and we have to use it? Price fixing. Scary. What if the algorithm gets taken over and they're like, I want to sell this product instead, and so they start sending you new stuff? They also said everything is registered and recorded. Even your dreams, your thoughts, registered and recorded. Everything about you registered and recorded. When you put on your underwear, registered and recorded. When you took them off, registered and recorded. How frequently you go to the smart toilet, registered and recorded. How much toilet paper you need, registered and recorded. When you needed the drill, registered and recorded. When you have dinner time, registered and recorded. The house you stay in, registered and recorded. I love you, big brother. I love you, big brother. Creepy. All right. Let's talk required living. What would be the requirements of living in this society? This is where the rubber meets the road and creepiness ensues. First, how you handle your health is mandated. You must get up at 8 in the morning and exercise. It is time to exercise. Everyone get up at 8 in the morning and exercise. Yeah, that was a trait of 1984. This is the exercise hour. Everybody up, stretch, down, stretch, up, stretch, down, stretch, exercise, exercise. It's good for you. Whatever your stance is on vaccines, that doesn't matter. You're required to take them. You have no qualms. Whether it's the vaccines that have long track records, or those kind of shaky, fairly nebulous ones. It's kind of like, do I want to be force vaccinated by this understudied HPV vaccine? Or would I just rather keep my genitalia to myself until I'm committed to somebody the rest of my life? I'd rather just keep my genitalia to myself, for crying out loud. But no, in such a society, all elements of your health are mandated. You must go to the doctor for the checkup at this time, sir, because if you do not, you are now violating the terms of our agreement, and you might end up costing us more than we think you're costing us because we miss a preventative measure. You must go and get that vaccine. If you can't have it. What about having mandated diets? What if you can no longer eat meat or bacon? Because I got news for you. What's really sad is what almost everything that the government recommends as far as health is actually not healthy for you. Scientifically unhealthy. But what happens in this society when we are mandated health? Because the wisdom of the anointed takes place. There's a book, and it's called The Wisdom of the Anointed. I think the book's called that. Anyway, there's a talk by Tom Naughton. He talks about this book in another book, and it is called Diet, Health, and the Wisdom of Crowds. And you should watch that documentary. It is it's a talk, I believe, and you can find it on YouTube. It's by Tom Naughton. It's called Diet, Health, and the Wisdom of Crowds. Do a search on YouTube for that. You will find it. In Diet and Health and Wisdom of Crowds, he talks about the vision of the anointed. And the anointed, of course, is the powers that be. And they talk about the various fundamental things that they do to drive the direction of society. And then he talks about the wisdom of crowds, which is when we move from the vision of the anointed, which was the older pre-internet system, to the internet where everybody could write anything they wanted. It spread the information. Sure, there's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's also a lot of very good information out there. But one of the things that it did is it showed us some of the major flaws in some of the health stuff, among other areas as well. And so a lot of what is talked about as being unhealthy is really healthy. Like saturated fats are very healthy for you. Particularly animal saturated fats, very healthy for you. What are they consider very healthy? Like unsaturated vegetable oils. These things are flat out toxic. And those are pushed as those are the healthy alternatives. We are not allowed to serve whole fat milk in schools anymore in America. And whole fat milk is extremely healthy for a kid who, compared to other milks. Milk in and of itself is questionable. But we're not allowed to serve whole fat milk, but we can serve chocolate milk, which actually has more sugar in it than soda. We ban soda because we all know soda's bad. But we serve chocolate milk, which has to be in fat-free milk. It has to be fat-free milk, but that chocolate milk has more sugar in it than this can of soda. But that's the diet in this society you're required, because the duty as a citizen, you are required to eat the food they give you, to take the health advice they give you, and to do everything they give you. It is mandated in this society because that's the way the society works. Mental health is the collective. So if you are declared mentally unstable because you talk about stuff like this and wear a tinfoil hat on a live stream on YouTube, you're just taken away. You're forced to take medicines, and they know if you're taking that medicine because they got a smart tracker to track you taking your medicine. Mental health is a collective problem. We already talked about mandated income or mandated exercise. But this is another fascinating point. They talk about staying out of nature. Got to stay inside our little city. We can't go outside into nature. That's bad. Does Hunger Games ring a bell to anybody? Don't leave the barrier of your district. It's against the law. How dare you go into nature? That's for nature to restore herself. We worship the creature rather than the creation, the creator. Okay? In such a society, we have a ration of food. You can't eat more than they say you can. We have our ration of water. Our smart meter tells us if we're using too much power or not. Is this freedom? This isn't freedom. This isn't freedom. So in light of all this, people have always asked me about my opinion of universal basic income. And here's my official stance. I think universal basic income is a bad idea. Because although it would certainly help some people, it would certainly be a good sounding concept, I think in the long run, it would enable more people who do not have, more people who do not have motivation to better themselves. It would enable them to just spend the money wastefully. I think it's a bad idea. I think anytime you have universal basic income, you generally have a society that is less motivated, not more motivated, and that's a problem. Oh boy. Homeschooled and only socialize on Sunday at church and youth group, and I'm not the best at it because I have autism. No, that's all right, man. You know, and the thing is, like, you don't have to I mean, we don't have to all be social. There are these things called introverts and these things called extroverts, you know. An extrovert is a very open person. They want to get out. They feel happiest there. An introvert feels happiest alone. Now, there's times that you got to do both. And so I'd encourage you at church or at youth group or other activities like that. Maybe if your family wants to find a small group too with other people, you know, maybe your age or just other people you can interact with. Those would be great times. Just get out there a little bit, just learn a little bit about dealing with people, and then come home and just let your hair down and be alone because that's what you want to do. And that's okay, you know. Neither of those is an issue. Big brother. How is taking my underwear recorded? OMG. Anna Rita, you will have to watch the beginning of this episode to learn that. Because we started reading this article talking about we don't own anything, even our clothes. In fact, the article started that I quoted, I don't own any appliances or any clothes. Which basically, either you're not wearing underwear or your clothing is not owned by you, in which case you're just grabbing it out of a cabinet in whatever place you have me living in right now. And then, of course, the cabinet knows some clothing has been taken out of it. They know you're the one there. Ergo, they know when you put on your underwear. And then, of course, you have some point in time got to take it off. You can throw it into the laundry chute wherever you have me staying. They're tracked you to that very location, so they know when you took your underwear on, when you took your underwear off. Creepy. So yeah, you'll have to watch the beginning for that part. I see social media is slacking off. Absolutely. I agree it is. I called social reject during college by some so-called friends, but I look back and I'm glad I was myself. Not doing drugs and drinking. That's the thing, is a lot of social pressure, a lot of your pressure to go out, like, and we try and force our teenagers in this country way too much to go out, socialize with kids your own age. Why? To go socialize with kids my own age who are all completely unsupervised, and the majority of them are having sex, the majority of them are doing drugs, the majority of them are drinking? That's a problem! And I gotta tell you, I have a funny story about that. Actually, it's kind of more of a tragic story, but I had in high school, I had early release, and so, you know, our school was a good 2 miles from town, and before I had my car at school, like the first half of the year, I didn't have my car, and so I had to walk back to town. So I stopped in one guy, I'm like, hey, can I get a ride back into town? And the guy was kind of a jerk, kind of a bully. Occasionally he'd talk to me, occasionally he wouldn't. So I just, what's no point asking? He's like, oh no, I'm going the other way. And so I start walking, all right, no big deal. I start walking. Well, he goes up a whole car full of his buddies, and they go by there, flipping me off, show me their favorite middle finger as they're driving on down the road. They got into a horribly crippled accident that afternoon. I'm glad I didn't go. Following the crowd leads to failure. Yep. Critical thinking will help you a lot. Following the crowd leads to boredom at best and self-destruction at worst. Yep. Critical thinking is important as well. Remember, there was a critical thinking problem in Algebra 2, and I was the only one who could answer it. Yeah. I don't want to think. I don't want to think. I don't want to think. Following the crowd off the cliff. Yep. Agree, though, it can be difficult, especially when you're young. You can feel like you are missing out if you can't see past it all. Yep. Whoa, lots of comments just showed up. English is my second language, so I don't know the translation of critical thinking. Critical thinking would be thinking deeply from all angles to solve a difficult problem. That's how I would say it. Your peer pressure can really affect you when you're young. Able to drink milk right from the cow. A friend of my father has some cows and sells raw milk and homemade cheese. That's cool. The funny thing is, several states in the United States, it's illegal to sell raw milk. It's stupid. It's like, okay, I understand the risk, sure, but you know what? I don't really see all these companies. Like, I'm seeing a whole lot more food recalls from processed foods and pre-cut lettuce and Whole Foods in general than I'm seeing from problems with raw milk. Thank you very much. Debating about bad stuff reinforces the bad stuff. Debating about solutions reinforces solutions. Not sure the proper definition. I see as questioning things and scrutinizing them for fact, including your own views and opinions as well as others. Did you know that there isn't a requirement now for children to learn cursive writing? Yes, I did know that. That is very sad. They can't even read the Constitution. Yeah, cursive writing is no longer a requirement, and schools don't teach it because it's not a requirement, and that's sad. That's so sad because, I mean, it's crazy how sad that is. So 7 in school refuses to include cursive writing. Well, Maverick, you got to teach it to them. You got to teach it. Got to teach him it, and you got to teach him the importance of it. Show him all the historical documents. Go online, get copies of the Constitution written in the original language, and say they are telling you that it's not important to learn the writing style that was used to write these important documents our country was founded on. It's a travesty. It's a travesty. I have a friend who cannot, in writing, communicate with her children because they have never been taught cursive. The kid that I mentor, who is by all means an extremely intelligent kid, cannot read my journals because my journals are in cursive. This is sad. Don't know how universal is a thought of in the U.S. Our system is a minimum wage that is calculated from your current rent. If too high, you'll be forced to move, and then added minimum living wage. Sometimes a social reject that grows up to become successful. Yeah. Nasty slang terms from students sometimes outside of school. UBI is a very warped idea. Sometimes I wonder if its aim is a way of keeping money circulating as a kind of inflation booster to prop up statistics. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to do that, you may as well just give the services for free. Because somebody's profiting from that. Somebody owns the buildings that you're doing that. And if the government's just handing you money for nothing for you to go out and give to other people, then the government may as well just give the money straight to that idiot who owns the building and let you live there for free. As Dave Ramsey say, and if your life lives like all your money comes into your account and all goes out the same day, it's somebody else's money. Is just changing the names to protect the innocent. I forget exactly. He says it really well. I didn't say it well at all. Or you not get this for free. To get this, you need to prove your commitment by going to annual meetings with the employment office and report the number of jobs you applied for. Peer pressure is prominent in middle school and high school. Yes, it is. High school is full of nerds or smart students, but it's also full of druggies and toolish kids. Yep. Much the same way in college. I'm just fine now, focusing on work, no parties. That's the way I did it, Mega. I mean, I went to school to learn. I didn't go to school for a social experiment. I went to school to learn. That's what I was there for. And I did some good learning. And looking back, there is nothing I would change about my past, except the only thing I would change is I would not have taken out the first 2 student loans I did. I didn't take out any loans after the first year, but I took out the student loans for those first 2. I think I did student loans for 3 semesters maybe. After that, I didn't do any more. That's the only thing I'd change. I'd take out less student loans. That's all I'd change. You think about me watching your live streams to fall asleep. I didn't know I was that boring, but I mean, that's all right. I don't mind. I've been told to socialize many times. Raw milk is a distraction from other poisons they're feeding us. Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing is I make about everything I eat is real food. I buy almost nothing that's processed anymore. I mean, I was trying to scratch my head. I unfortunately am still somewhat addicted to Cheez-Its, and so I'll buy some Cheez-Its once a month and plow through a box of those. But as far as regular food, I don't buy stuff with barcodes anymore. It's weird. And when I started doing that, I think my ice cream might cost me slightly more money. I don't know. What does half a gallon of ice cream cost in the United States these days? I don't even know anymore. I think I calculated my food cost for ice cream to be like maybe $2 for... Is that a quart or a half? I think a quart is what I'm making. 4 cups. 4 cups is what I'm making. That's a 2 quart, isn't it? That's 2 quart. Which is a quarter gallon. So, I think I make my ice cream from scratch at home. I think my cost is just under $2 for, a quarter of a gallon maybe. Understand how they're giving up on cursive writing U.S. Yeah, they are. They're giving up on education in the U.S. See the math that they teach these days? It's like insanity. Okay, I have some degrees in math. I can't understand what they're trying to teach them. It doesn't make any sense. You don't see kids outside of school smoking weed, cigars, or electronic cigarettes. Yeah. Well, these kids need cursive writing. By the time they're old enough, they'll be chipped with RFID. That's right. You're talking school to kids doing lewd activities. Yeah. Yeah, you have no idea, man. Poisons are the way they plan on getting in all the chipped and living things in the apartments. Yeah. Way plan on getting in all of us chipped. How are the poisons? I'm not quite following there, Tresnado, but let me know what you mean by that. We're finding condoms open on the floor of my history class. Ew, nasty. I hope it wasn't full of anything. That'd be gross. Might need to add when I was locked in this, it was 100 jobs per month. Huh. All right. So what is the ultimate problem with our perfect society where there's no privacy and no possessions and no anything else? It boils down to one word. Human nature. There's a movie out there, and it was one of those deeply criticized movies, and it was by M. Night Shyamalan, whatever his name is. The Twisty movies. Not one of his better movies, but it was called The Village. I liked that movie. A lot of people didn't. The reason I liked The Village is the point behind it. You see, if you're unfamiliar with it, spoiler alert, there's a spoiler coming. If you're unfamiliar with that movie, it is this village, and they're living in this society, and it's old society, 1800s probably, whatever else. And they're going through, and they have no crime, no heartaches. Everyone grows their own food. Everyone lives in this perfect communal society. They all go to church. There's the town elders that handle everything. It's that kind of stuff. But one of the kids, who is a mentally disabled kid, ends up stabbing another person in the village. And then it comes out that they're not in 1800s. They're in the modern day. They're living in a preserve. And one of the people has to leave the preserve and go out and get medicine and bring it back. The reason I like this movie isn't because the twist was awesome. I frankly thought the twist was pretty cool. They fooled me the first time I watched it. Second time, though. But the twist in the movie is they were trying to produce a perfect utopic society, devoid of crime, devoid of problems, devoid of possession, devoid of all of these bad things in our society, and someone still got stabbed. In fact, I played an Adventures in Odyssey that, for you people that watched this recording live, you got a chance to hear it. I'm editing it out of this one for copyright reasons. But another Adventures in Odyssey episode is when Eugene and Nathaniel are talking about how you can solve the world's problems. If the whole world would just get together, they could solve world hunger. They could solve wars. They could solve all these things. And Eugene takes him through a trip in the imagination station back to an ancient time and says, I used to think that mankind could all get together and talk about doing all this stuff and produce the perfect society, but there was an element that was missing. So he's like, well, what is it? So they go back in the imagination station to the Tower of Babel. And in the Bible, the Tower of Babel was the time when all of society was united. They spoke one language. There were no wars. There were no challenges. And everyone was a slave. They were all a slave to build the tower in Babel. All right. The element that Nathaniel was missing, and the element that this article we talked about is missing, is human nature. It is human nature to seek ourselves. It is human nature to use others as tools. It is human nature to want to injure other people for our own betterment. It is human nature. It's not always what we want to do. It's not always what we like to do. But it is the core in the nature of humankind, as in my opinion, we fell when Adam and Eve fell in the garden. That's my take on it. That's my take on all this. This future society cannot happen because human nature will not allow it. That is my take on this required future smart city. It can't work. Can't work at all. We will not stay out of the nature. We will not be kind to each other. We will find ways to overcome the technology. We will find ways to steal. We will find ways to kill. And in this society, someone owns all this stuff. And those people are using all of the little minions in the smart city as their little tools. They're stepping stones to stand on, to gain wealth. And they're the only ones that have privacy. And they're the only ones that have possessions. And all the rest, we can all talk about how wonderful it is that nobody has any possessions except the guys at the top. They've got possessions. They've got the wealth. They've got the freedom. And they've got the privacy to do the things you don't do because human nature. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So I stopped the recording. So we're going to wrap up our comments and then that'll be it. It's not because you're boring. It's because I need to focus on something to sleep. There you go. There you go. That's the way to do it. Well, let's end this with the kitty comments. Commenting with the kitty. Smoking weed bad to the point it should be illegal. You know, I'll tell you that smoking weed definitely causes a lot more negativity, a lot more negative things than the people who just want to carte blanche legalize it suggest. But I am okay with marijuana being something that is for medical use. I am okay with marijuana for medical use where it needs to be. But I think that marijuana for recreational use it causes a lot of problems. And the reason it causes a lot of problems is because it really does tinker inside the brain. Yeah, it's not going to kill you like meth can kill you. It's not super seriously addictive like meth, but long-term weed use does cause radical, serious changes in memory and brain and cognitive function. And I've seen it happen in many times. I grew up in a world that had a lot of that kind of stuff, and I got a chance to see what that does to someone after 20 years, and it's not a pretty sight. So medical use, I'm okay with it. Recreation, not so much. My ice cream cost me $8 and it's a big bucket, but ever since my wife put me on a diet, no more ice cream, but celery sticks with carrots. Well, that's good too. I like celery sticks and carrots. Anna Rita, if you follow my homemade ice cream recipe, you can substitute part of that with I think the milk part you can substitute with yogurt and make frozen yogurt instead. A little healthier. Well, maybe it's a little healthier. I don't know. Sweden was one of the unfortunate ones that they had no one to help me out getting a job, and the market was only interested in people with college degrees. I often blaze and watch the live streams. There you go. Late, had to replace some brake pads. All right, Keegan. Hopefully I don't have to do that soon. You already have basic income in Sweden. Okay, let's see. Pretty much on my dream job as a software developer, sadly not for Linux. What if the human nature is removed out of the equation? If the human nature were removed out of the equation, it would work, but the problem is the only time human nature is going to happen is in glorification. So not on this earth. It is the students who fool around during high school that have to work hard when they leave from high school. Yep. There's a podcast to listen to where guys always say, love people and use things. Yep, that's true. We are fallen creatures. The pride we pay to have free will and knowledge. I'm an atheist, but the Genesis is a very good tool to understand the human condition. Absolutely. That's where I'm pulling this from. You can pull that from a Christian perspective or from an atheist perspective, but there's a lot of truth in it either way. You know, we tend to do bad things. It's just how we tend to be. Some students look at me surprised when they hear me say I do not have social media. How dare you not have social media? Do you show on True OS Linux distro? True OS, isn't that one of the BSDs? I don't know. I'll look into it. Teacher said social media is a social waste of time. It's a colossal waste of time, yeah. Okay, to be different from the majority, you're not alone in that. That's right. So many people seem to want to have the wrong way around. Tom, I emailed you some stuff on smart meters in general in US and PA. Cool, thank you. I will have a look at it, James. May miss out temporarily, but I also will some of the fruits of my work in school. Oh, receive the fruits of your work in school, I'm guessing. You only get more lazy from marijuana if you're already lazy. If you're stable and use it in moderation, there's no problem. Teacher said you reap the fruits you work to do. Yes, Carbon Programmer. It is actually comes from a Galatians chapter 6 in the Bible. It says, as a man sows, so shall he reap. He who sows to the flesh shall from the flesh reap corruption. He who sows to the Spirit shall from the Spirit reap peace and truth. I believe it's Galatians 6:9 or 6:19, one of those. But anyway, that's where it comes from. Similar set of safety nets. All right, well, I reached the bottom of the comments, reached the bottom of the article. I think it's time to feed the kitty, and then it's time to go feed me because I haven't eaten anything yet today, and I'd kind of like to. That'd be kind of fun. All right, let's go ahead and give this kitty some kitty treats. Yeah, kitty. Oh, you know it's coming, don't you? You know it's coming, huh? Oh, yes. You're a happy kitty. You're a happy kitty. Over here so the camera can see. Yes. Whoa, kitty treats. Oh, that's a small one. There you go. And, oh, one more. Oh, yeah. You're a good kitty, huh? There's your good buddy. All right, guys. Everyone saw that heart. Let's show them a heart on this side. See? There's his heart on the other side. All right. Well, folks, I will catch you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful evening.